Alright, so I'm just working on this custom saddle, and I'm going to show you how I tie on my back billets real quick. And this works really well for tying on a latigo tie strap. If you use a fold over off billet for the front girt, you can use this same tie. This is how I tie on any kind of accessory billet onto the rigging of a saddle. It may be pretty simple. Most people may know this tie already, but there's a lot of people that don't know how to do this tie, and a lot of times they'll do the one that you usually see where you just kind of go through and the two tails come through and down through the loop on a tie strap or something. This is a much more secure way to tie on your billets, and I'm going to show you that right quick on this saddle. First thing I'm going to use is some saddle soap. I prefer the white. You can use anything you want. Just something to lubricate the thread, the lace as we go through the leather, because we're going to be going through each hole a couple of times, and so you're going to need a little bit of lubrication, and saddle soap's great for that. You can also use rawhide cream if you've got any rawhide gear that you're maintaining with like a Ray-Holes rawhide cream or something. You can use that as well. But we just run it through this soap real quick and just kind of work it into that string, that leather lace there. I cut my leather lace out of some thin latigo. I buy some 4 to 6 ounce latigo, and then we'll cut 3/8 inch strips, and that's what I use for my laces on all our billets. So you cut it 3/8, and then we bevel the edges of it in our strander. You can also use a safety skiver to do that, just to thin the underside or the flesh side so that it lays nice and flat. So we've got our billet, so we'll go over here to the saddle and tie that on right quick. Now, so I've got our billet ready. I like to wet the end of our billet where it folds over the D-ring right here, and go ahead and tap that down with a hammer. If you're doing these slick out, you want to be real careful when you do that it doesn't crack up here, so you want to be sure and get it wet so that whenever you fold it, it'll fold over nicely without cracking the finish. Rough out, you don't have to worry about it too much, but wetting it still makes it easier to go ahead and turn over. So what we'll do is we'll take our lace, like I said, that's a 3/8 inch piece of lace, and we've beveled the flesh side on each side of it just so that it's nice and thin around the outside. We've lubricated with the saddle soap, and then we'll just put that in there. Get our ends of the same distance, and we'll start out right there, just going across those two holes, and then we'll hang it on the D, and then we'll go through the same two holes on the other side. Pull that down tight. Now you're going to want to twist this lace here. We're going to twist and come around and come back down through that hole. So you're going to want to grab the lace and twist to the left, counterclockwise as you're looking at it, and that's going to bring the flesh side up around the outside of the billet. And then we'll take an awl and we'll come in here. We want to turn the flesh to where it faces to the middle of our little setup here, and then pull tight. And you want to be sure that your lace is facing the right direction. When you pull it tight, you want to be sure that the flesh side of that lace is facing towards this hole. Okay. And then we'll do the same on this side. So on this side we'll turn clockwise. Turn it to where the flesh is this way, facing the billet. Drive our awl through there to make our hole a little bigger. And again, we've got the flesh facing our center setup. And then we'll pull that tight. You want to be careful when you're pulling this. You want it nice and tight, but you want to be sure that you don't break the lace. So if you break the lace really easily, it's probably not a good latigo to use for your billet lacings. So just kind of keep that in mind. I can break this stuff if I pull too hard, but you don't want to break it too easy. Okay, so now we'll come up. I just wanted to open this hole. You want to kind of be able to see a little bit of daylight through there. Then you know you've got your laces facing the right direction. Okay, because if you don't, you can kind of almost pierce one of these laces on the back side when we come back through, which you'll see in a minute. Now we'll take one of them, come up through this hole here, pull that tight, and now we'll come right down these two. And sometimes you might need to use a little pair of needle nose pliers to get it through there. You got to remember, you got that leather going through this hole, these two top holes, 3 times. So it can get a little snug in there trying to fit them all in. Pull this one up. And now we'll make this hole bigger. So now as you can see, it's wrapped around the outside and it's making the triangle here in the middle, and that'll securely hold that billet in place. I like doing it this way around the outside like that because it tends to hold that billet much more firmly and it doesn't get loose. This won't get as loose as if you just do this in the middle and don't come around the outside. This lacing can get loose very easily, and then your billet's got a gap in it, and that chances that thing breaking or coming off of the saddle while you're riding it, which is dangerous. On your Latigos, sometimes this setup, instead of having two holes at the top and one at the bottom, it'll be flipped around to where you'll have two at the bottom, one at the top. Those hole patterns are meant so that you go down like we did through the two when we started. Then you just bring both up through the top hole, and then just take your tails and tuck them down underneath. That's a very quick and easy way to put a Latigo on. There's nothing wrong with that with a Latigo because you're going around that D a couple of times when you cinch up on the horse anyway, and so that's not getting a lot of wear on it. But on a back billet, that's the only thing keeping this on the D. This leather does not come up and wrap around again, so this lace is very important, and so we don't want everyone to use that type of lacing pattern on a saddle. You want to go with something like this, or at least the center triangle shape like that without these side deals. At least those two, but I would not recommend doing the one where you just go through and then drop the tails through the loop. That one to me is not very secure. So, but that's the way I do those. And then to end it, if you look on the back side, you've got these two here. I'll take one on each side and just tuck them underneath there. Pull those snug. And then I'll take my side cutters here and just clip them off level with the outside of the billet. Then once that's on there, I like to take a steel anvil of some sort, a little piece of scrap steel or something, and a hammer, and then just clench it down. And one deal is it makes it pretty because it's nice and flat and smooth. It's not going to cause a lump on the back side that may rub a horse or something through the pad. But it also clenches those holes down where that leather's in there. It kind of clenches everything together and assures that it's not just going to back out. Like I said, this is a very secure way to put on a billet, and that's how I tie them on. If you're doing this at your horse trailer and you don't have a spike awl like this, it can be very hard to do that because you really need to be able to make those holes bigger with a spike awl. If you're not into leather work, but you're just watching this to see how to tie on a billets on your saddle, I would recommend getting you a toolkit for your trailer for just repairing oddball leather stuff and having one of these spike awls here in there, because that would be very helpful for many applications, including putting bits on headstalls and that kind of thing. So it's just a CS Osborne spike awl. They got lots of different sizes. This one here is about 6 inches total, so that kind of gives you an idea of the size. But you're going to need one of these. I'd throw one in your trailer and just have it. They come in pretty handy. But that's time to billet on. We'll see y'all in the next video.